Hey everyone, we'll start in just another minute here. All right. While we are waiting, if you want to just. Hey everyone, we'll start in just another minute here. And while you're waiting, if you just want to add a comment on where you're joining from, I'm going to take a look at the comments here on LinkedIn. All right. So we are at time. Let's get started. Thank you so much for joining on this beautiful Tuesday. Good afternoon, good evening, and maybe good morning, depending on where you're joining from. So, we're going to talk about Salesforce plus AI real world use cases for sales and service cloud, financial services, health, and other industries. And looks like my title is misspelled there. Oops. So, I'll start with a very quick disclaimer. This is not legal advice. This is not Salesforce's point of view. We are a Salesforce partner, but this is certainly our point of view. And everything in this document, in this event, and otherwise is for informational purposes only. It's not legal advice. I'm not a lawyer. All right. My name is Saurabh Gupta. I am the CEO and co founder of Cloud Compliance and GPTfy. We are a Salesforce App Exchange product partner or an ISV partner, and I'm based in Chicago. I've had the opportunity to learn from the best. I worked at Salesforce for 7+ years in customer success as an architect, and all my background is mostly enterprise architecture. So, with that out of the way, let's get into the agenda. And my intention is in the next 10 minutes, we get through some of the context in the background and actually show you the real stuff. So, we'll talk a little bit about the sales and service challenges that your users have today. We'll talk a little bit about the customer life cycle. What are some of the areas in there where AI proves to be an opportunity? What are some real world use cases there that you can apply it to? We'll dive into a demo, couple of demos, lots of how this can work, what kind of benefits can you bring to your organization with AI, and really just real world stuff. We'll talk a bit about security and trust, some resources, and Q&A. My favorite part of these conversations is the Q&A. So please put your questions in the comment. I'm going to try and look at it from time to time. And we have some of my colleagues out there as well. They'll add information to it, and we will certainly take these questions up as they come. Some of you have been kind enough to share some questions during our prior interactions on LinkedIn. I'm going to try and pick up some of those, and otherwise, just definitely keep commenting. I'm looking at it on my phone here as we speak. All right. So with that out of the way, oh, one more note. I'll be in New York on the 14th. So if any of you is coming there, please let me know. Say hi. Just either put in comments or text me on LinkedIn. Would love to get connected and meet you in person. With that out of the way, let's talk a little bit about the sales and service challenges that we've seen all over the world with different industries, different user base, all kind of folks. And tell me if this resonates with your sales users. So what's happening is, we are seeing a transition. There's a shift in every company that's been going on for a couple of years. Every organization today wants to move from transactional one sale type interaction to a personalized interaction. We want to get into a more subscription oriented business. We want to build a relationship with the customer that is deeply meaningful and personal to them. And our brand represents their needs completely and fully. We are also seeing a lot of challenges in the unstructured data and the struggle for sales to convert it into actionable insights. I mean, I have so many emails. What is the next step? What is the action? What is the sentiment? What is the intent on each of those things? If you have case, what do all those comments mean? Is the customer positive, negative, neutral? What are they trying to do? Similarly, there is this incredible grunt work of sorting data that we all are expected to do across a variety of applications. I have my CRM system, I have my email, I have my messaging apps, I have third party data enrichment tools, I'm looking at social media. So this is all the plethora of data coming in. And there is an interest in automating a lot of that so that our sales folks can focus on selling. And finally, the challenge around reporting, same thing. Way too many tools, way too much reporting. And one of the hardest things, and perhaps the most crucial, is how does our sales get some visibility into deals? If you are running sales ops, if you are senior management in sales or in support, how are you getting visibility into all of these things? And how can we ensure that we are able to deliver on that in an unobtrusive manner, in a relevant manner, in a secure manner, and in a timely way? So these are some of the challenges we have heard repeatedly from sales all across the world, from customers of all industries and sectors. Similarly, are the challenges around support and customer success. There is a high cost and high turnover. We are all trying to automate a significant amount of things that we do today with the Service Cloud or with knowledge bases or live chat or whatever other tools you're looking at. How do we automate the mundane and how do we prioritize for high value? How do we ensure that we are able to monitor and understand accounts before they turn red? How do we get around the frustrations that our customers have? Can we address their dissatisfaction proactively? Can we know at every comment made on a case that there is a negative undertone and address it instead of sending a survey after the fact? How can we get away from generic email templatized messages that we send today to a more personalized and empathetic tone? How can we do that for our call center agent when someone calls for the seventh time and we know that the past six interactions have not been positive? There's all of this areas around diagnosis. If you sell software, high tech, industrial engineering, if you're in some of these industries, the diagnosis can be quite complex and it could be hit or miss. How do you get to a root cause analysis when these things are done and look at that more holistically? So those are some of the challenges that we have heard repeatedly on the support side. As you look at all of this, here is another paradigm, right? We are living in an era of consumer grade technology. Most of us have access to some of these things, whether it's Siri, whether it's robotic vacuums like Roomba, EVs like Tesla or Amazon Echo and products like that. And surprisingly, some of these are more advanced than what we get at work today, right? Our end users are buried in grunt work of enterprise technologies. And that is fundamentally the challenge that we look at when we think about automation and AI and real world use cases to address that. Let me give you a little bit of an example. So this is a typical customer life cycle, and a variation of it occurs with your or employers, potentially with your customers and clients, right? We do an outreach, we do some demo proposals, we do negotiate, deal close, we onboard those customers. There is some support, user adoption, success, and then a renewal, right? And this cycle kind of repeats itself. Every one of these activities that you're looking at here today happens in your organization manually. Every one of them happens manually today. Maybe there is a fraction that may have automated, but whether it's generating personalized email drafts, summarizing opportunity for pipeline analysis, doing an account 360 for sales ops, for customer success, all of those, summarizing cases, looking at root cause analysis, looking at sentiments, looking at documents and quotes. Every one of those things for all of us is manual today, regardless of the technology, the money, the intellectual and technical firepower we have thrown at it. And those are the things that we have embarked on automating. So GPTfy is a Salesforce App Exchange app that does all of these things that you see here today, except for the white space analysis. We are working on that one. The point is, when you're going to bring AI into your organization, you want to bring it because this is what your end user is up against. This is the grunt work that they are dealing with on a day to day basis. And unless we play a proactive role in eliminating it, we can't really significantly impact revenues. We can't really boost the productivity. So the idea of this conversation and hopefully the direction this is headed in, and I'd like to think that you'll all align with me on this. The idea of this is to eliminate this grunt work and improve the productivity of our organization. So with this thought, we, as I'm a technologist, so we were like, well, this should be easy, right? And we went with this notion of generative AI coming in. This should solve all of our problems. And one of the things we found is we have this sort of challenge. You have your Salesforce here, your CRM. So whether you run Service Cloud, Sales Cloud, FSC, Health Cloud, nonprofit cloud, education cloud, any industry cloud, anything in the core Salesforce platform that you're running, and you have AI on the other end, right? Do you buy from a vendor? Do you go to OpenAI on Azure, AWS, Google Cloud, your own, data breaks, whoever you're buying it from, Data Cloud, from Salesforce. So you have these two components, these two oceans of value that you want to connect, right? Your CRM with all the business data model, the interpretation of the business entities, and this new found ocean of generative AI. And the idea of technologies like GPTfy is that we wanted to build this Panama Canal. Like instead of trying to figure out the way all around the continent to get to the promised land, the idea here is that we are able to short circuit this. You are able to short circuit this, and you can show your customers something that is, show your end users something that is a zero distraction, easy to use. And I'm going to show you a little bit of demo of what's possible with generative AI very shortly here. And we wanted it to be something that is really fast. How do you ensure that you can literally get up and running with a tool that's, clicks not code, 100% declarative, and can go live in days and weeks? And of course, one of the areas around AI that we constantly hear about is security, compliance, privacy. So how do we make sure that this is an enterprise grade security and it's a bring your own model? So I think I have one more slide and we can jump into the demo. So this is kind of what our vision of dealing with generative AI is, right? You've got all of these manual activities in your Salesforce, and this is GPTfy, a native Salesforce App Exchange app that runs inside your org, and it works with a bring your own model or bring your own key architecture, which means it will connect with your AI instance. So you can provision your AI on AWS, on Azure, on Google Cloud, vendor of your choice. And the idea is this allows you to have complete control on the end-to-end version of this. So that's kind of really what I wanted to give you the context to. I think we'll just jump into a demo. Please keep bringing on your questions if you have any, and I would take a look at them in a little bit here. So let me start with just a very, very classic idea, right? I'm on an account record here. And what you're seeing here is this little console type lightning component that you see here. This is GPT-5. And the idea is that we are not trying to build a chat agent. What we are trying to offer to our users, and what you can do with this is you can ensure that your users are able to do the things that they commonly do with AI applied very selectively. It's a very curated application of AI for specific needs. So I'll give you an example of this. I'm on this account. This is an account with a bunch of things. I'm going to go here and pick one of these prompts. Now, prompt is just a plain English statement, essentially, that we give to AI of what it needs to do. It's a command, right? We are saying, hey, give me an account overview or a tier sheet, right, for this account. So I'm going to click this button. And at this point, what GPTfy is doing is it's extracting all of your data for this account, for all the related opportunities, cases, activities, all of that stuff, and it's sending it to AI. And the idea is once it comes back, you have gotten all of this data crunched by AI. So the way it is different is that this is unstructured data that AI has processed and given you back a response. So as you can see here, I have these opportunities for this customer. I have a summary of what these opportunities are about. But the interesting part is I have objections. And AI is figuring this out of the content on this opportunity, right? This is not a field, a pick list field whose value we are displaying here. So if I go to this opportunity record here, what you would see is, somewhere here it talks about, oh, they're talking about security and pricing. And because this is a demo, it's written here, it could have been buried in, in one of these activities here, right? It could have been in any of these and AI would still pick it up, right? So it can pick up from some of these meeting notes and highlight it. The point is, when we did this with those two simple clicks, we did something that a rep would have spent a lot of time on. And this is interesting for two kind of users that I have talked to so far. If you're a rep with a lot of accounts, right? Maybe your ticket size is not big, or you're just dealing in the commercial or mid-size or small segment, and you have, I don't know, 200 accounts, 1,000 accounts. You need some sort of pre-meeting notes, right? Before you go into a conversation, because you're like, I spoke with the steel crafter people 2 months ago, refresh my memory on what happened, right? So I can get a version of this and look at this. The other part of this is I'm in the sales, I'm in the sales hierarchy. If I'm a sales leader, I'm looking at this and going, okay, what's going on with this account? What's my rep doing? I'm trying to figure out where are the risks in my forecast? What are the predictions that we have made that we may not be able to meet? And I want to understand the objections, what stage they are in, and all of that. And the thing that I like about what you're seeing is you are now able to give a distinctively different point of view to your end customers from reports. This is not reporting. This is, in true sense, the insights that you're able to offer to your end customers, to your end users, right? So, and another version of this is if I go here on, actually, let me just go to stay here. So the other version of this is I can say, okay, this is great, but tell me a little bit about all the interactions that have happened on it. Like, what have we done so far on it, right? I can run this thing and I can get a summary of all the interactions with this account. Maybe I am in customer success and I just want to know what's going on with my big accounts. What are some of the cases? What sort of the summary of this? And this may have a lot of information at a case level, case comments, not interested, just kind of want to see what is the summary of interaction, what is the customer sentiment, and generative AI can derive this based on all the conversation, the tone of it, and things like that, right? And it can also recommend a next best action based on what it's reading. And this is kind of where you're starting to see how quickly you're able to offer value. An example of this is right here. It shows you that this took 317 seconds. This is the amount of time it saved, right? So roughly about 5 minutes. If someone was to do something like this, they would spend a fair bit of time doing it. You multiply that with the number of these mundane activities that a user does today and times the number of your users, and you get a significantly larger number. That is the cost we are all paying today. That is the grunt work tax we are all paying today. And no amount of technology that we're going to throw at it is going to solve it in a manner as elegant as generative AI can, provided we look at it from that lens of what all areas can we trim out these inefficiencies from. So that is one of the thing I wanted to show. But the other part of this, and this is true for every emerging technology, is if you're trying to go forward with this, how do you show value to your organization? So I'm going to show you what we call the ROI dashboard here. And what this thing does is it actually is based on that time that we just showed that was saved. So basically, you can internally now track how much time you're actually saving. How does that, what does that translate into money, and how much money you're saving your organization? Which are your most popular prompts that people are using? Which profiles are most actively using it? Roles, departments. I only have one user, it's a demo environment, but you get the idea, right? Like over a period of time, you're now starting to see measurable, tangible value of this. So this is not the fear of missing out, like everybody's using generative AI, so I want to have as well. This is legitimately based on hard cold numbers around the efficiency improvement that you can make in your organization. One of the other things I'm going to go back to it and show is once I run this, I have the opportunity to share this, right? If I am a customer success person, or if I go back to my prior example here, and my boss is like, hey, what's going on with the Steel Crafter account? I can actually click on this button and essentially populate this in an email and send it out directly from Salesforce. I can also copy on the clipboard icon there. Actually, in the interest of time, I'm just going to go on. I can click on the clipboard icon here. It's in the memory now. I can go paste it in Outlook, Gmail, whatever I use. One of the other areas around AI that we keep on hearing repeatedly from customers is this challenge around feedback, right? Is this good? Is it not working? How do we know? If you're the one promoting this, if you have created prompts, how do you know that they're actually working? So we now capture feedback. This is new in our product, and your users can provide feedback. They can say, well, I didn't like the response, it was incomplete, whatever it is. They can put it as a message here, and they can submit that feedback, and that feedback is associated with this record here. And so people who are building prompts in your organization, they can look at it. Your executive sponsors have an ability to understand what's working, what's not working. What's interesting about some of that stuff is we actually again track it, so you can see it on a dashboard called AI Insight, and you see utilization here, right? You're seeing all of the utilization of things that we talked about, and you can then also track it in the quality insight. I didn't I don't have enough feedback here, but what you start to see is between ROI, AI insights, and quality insights, you have a very complete picture of how well is my AI effort going. This is one of the key challenges we are hearing repeatedly from customers is, they're trying to understand the use cases of AI, but also more importantly, they're trying to understand, if I was to go ahead and do this, how will this work? Is it really going to give us the kind of value that we think? How will we track it? How will we justify the amount of money and effort and time we are putting? How do we offset the opportunity cost? And with these three things, you are able to actually identify and do that. So I'm going to take a minute, look at some of the questions, if there are any, and then I'll show you a few more really interesting demos. Give me just a sec. All right. So I think someone asked, can this be run on a bulk level or a scheduled basis? So the answer is yes. I'm going to jump into that in a minute, Shiva. Pre asked if we could demonstrate the clipboard of AI output. Yes, Pre, I'll copy that in a minute. Uh, Is it possible to add custom prompts? Yes. Are prompt templates that yield the formatted result? Yes, they're included, Chris. Hey, Chris. I will definitely show that in a minute. I see that in the demo, the sentiment of escalated case is neutral, which is not true, assuming this demo data. Correct, Kirti, you are absolutely right. Great eye. And you are absolutely right. It is not looking at all of the data, it's just a demo environment. But yes, the intention is that, and when we write prompts, we can write them in a manner where all of this starts to come together, right? So the challenge for all of us, we've been in this space for about a year trying to figure this out. And if you're getting into the generative AI space, one of the challenge that you would run into is understanding prompt engineering and understanding the mind of AI, because it does have a mind of its own. And there is an element of writing prompts, the art and science of writing prompts, which we all have to learn. How do we write it in a manner where it actually conveys the intent of what we're trying to do with it? So I'm going to show you a few things, a few more things, and then get into the prompts and some of those areas. So let's see, what else do I have? So now I'm going to do something with an opportunity, which I think is quite interesting and very common. One of the things that almost every sales rep in every organization ends up doing is they have to sit through a pipeline, review, right? You're going to go and talk about your opportunities, what's happening with this, what's happening with that. I have been at customers where reps actually pull data out of Salesforce and other places, and they create like a PowerPoint version of it, and then they talk through that. In some organizations, they look at Salesforce and talk through that. So whatever your organization does, there is a bunch of things that you can do at an opportunity level. I can go to an opportunity and I can run a prompt here. This one is called deal x-ray. And the idea is, again, it's going to look at the opportunity. It's going to look at all the related content, and it's going to come back with a general overview, right? Here is the summary. Here's the sentiment. Here are some objections on this deal. Here is next best action. Here are event notes. That's okay. Not super elegant, right? Not very readable either. So I can get this in a table format. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, right? And I can then use this to talk through this opportunity if I wanted to do that. So the intention here is, again, give you a very quick snapshot of what's going on, what's all the stuff that's happened on this opportunity. My boss can look at it, I can look at it, other people can look at it. And as we talked about that, we can send an email, do all of that stuff. if I need somebody else to look at. So, like, an example is if you're in an industry where you do team selling, right? Maybe you sell software, you sell other kind of specialized services, content, high tech, where you need a solution engineer, for example, or you need subject matter experts to come in as part of the conversation with the customer. This is a great way to send them this information. You can even just click a button here and effectively create a task, where you have this information, and you can just say, hey, here is some of the details. You can go look at that, and they can definitely do that. So again, very nifty for things like pipeline review and stuff like that. Another thing that I wanted to show was, again, back to the account level, is transition. You have a new rep who's coming in, and that's a use case. I was quite surprised at how common this use case is because of territory realignment or because of just the general churn these days, in sales. There's a lot of account transition activities that happen, and they are expensive to do and hard to do, predominantly because you need to have the rep that's leaving talk to the rep that's joining this account. So there is the sunk cost of these two, very expensive, very crucial people talking to each other. And the other part of this is, if I say, okay, go ahead, look at the steel crafter account, you have to actually go dig into each of these things and figure out, what's this opportunity, okay, what's happened here, am I going to go click on this demo and figure out what's the conversation, right? So you can see that it can very quickly become very effort intensive. Oops, I clicked one too many times. So what we are going to do is, we are basically going to go here, and we can essentially run a client interaction summary, right? And the idea here is that, in the interest of time, I can actually probably just show it here. I thought I had it somewhere. All right, I'll run it. So the idea here is that it basically looks at all of these interactions and provides you with a very quick summary of what's happened with this account. Again, great way for transition, for letting someone know. So what you're seeing here is, it's actually generated an email for me, and I can then just directly send it out. So somebody had asked to copy it. I can copy it. I'm only sharing a browser. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to just paste it somewhere so that we can see it. So whoever asked that, I'm going to just do that. Just go here. So you can see here is the same output, right? You can copy paste it wherever you want it. I'm going to cancel out of this. So basically, the idea is that you're able to see how quickly you can provide this information to anybody else who's coming into this account, right? And again, you can give a tabular format, you can give whatever form you want. All right. So that is some of the things I wanted to talk about. I'm going to show you a little bit of, oh, there's a lot of comments here. All right. Let me talk a little bit about another area, which is around prompt, and then we'll talk a bit about security and some of the other questions that are coming in. All right, so let's talk prompts. I'm going to give you a view of how this comes together, right? This is what we call a cockpit. And the idea is, these are things that, if you're embarking on AI, these are the things that you may want to think about. These are considerations we have learned after talking to so many customers from all around the world in different industries, different sizes. So the first is the whole idea of identifying the business value of this, right? So which is where this whole ROI dashboard, insights, the feedback, all of that is your vehicle, right? This is how you continually keep educating your internal folks, your steering committees, your management on the value that you're driving with AI, right? This is where, if you're in sales ops, support, if you're in IT, if you're trying to run digital transformation, this is your arsenal where you're constantly showing, we are not wasting, your dollars are not getting burned, they're being put to good use, right? And then we have a prompt catalog, which is a way to deploy the prompts that come, with prepackaged with GPTfy, or the new ones that you create. And I'll get into that in a minute. The second part of this is where it's the technical aspect, right? How do you manage your configuration? So you can connect with different AI model. You can use OpenAI on Azure or something else, maybe use AWS, maybe use more than one. We support bring your own model across the board, so you can have any number of AIs connect with Salesforce, and you can send information to them, get back to things like that. We integrate with third party data sources, so you can do that through API data sources. You can also do it through Lightning Connect, Salesforce Lightning Connect. So we support external object, And we are in the process of on our roadmap we have data cloud integration. So if you're headed in that direction, we can definitely support that. Data context mapping is where you map what information you're sending to AI. I'll talk about that a little bit. And then every prompt that you've seen or you created this is flow enabled. So you can use them in a flow. You can also use them as an API endpoint and call them from external systems. We do a lot of security and audit. So again, when you're thinking about this, these are at least the three or four areas that you definitely want to think about: business value, all of the configuration and setting, because you don't want to build this massive spaghetti of custom code. So how do you make this very declarative? And the third is security and audit. And what we have done in security and audit is we provide security layers. So we mask information going out of Salesforce, based on terms, based on regular expressions, based on block lists. So a lot of flexibility on what you want to retain in Salesforce. So instead of Saurabh, it goes out as name one, right? That's how we send information out. And you can have a security audit of what was sent, what was received, what was masked. Uh, you can automate this. Someone had asked that question. So, yes, you can automate, schedule it so it runs every 30 minutes. Any new account, any new lead, any new case that got created, we can automatically just process them, apply AI on them, update fields to things like that. And you can also set retention, so you can delete stuff that's already run responses you don't want to keep for more than 7 days, 30 days, whatever your time frame is. All right. So these are some of the areas to be aware of. Let's take a look at prompts. So prompt catalog is a way to look at the prompts you have and to deploy them. So you see an example of some of the prompts, all right, for sales, for customer success, service, all of that. And the idea is that I can go here and I can deploy a prompt. So I'm going to pick a prompt here, this one, this guy, opportunity summary and sentiment. I'm going to hit next. You can see that there is a mapping associated with it and it runs on the opportunity object. What that means is this prompt will only appear on the opportunity record, right? So that lightning component and the dropdown, the value in the dropdown are driven by this. And when I go next, what you will see is your ability to limit who has access to this prompt. You can control it by profiles. So only certain profiles can have access to that specific prompt. And GPTfy is access to GPTfy is given through permission set. So you are giving those specific users with a particular profile like this permission, and then the prompt visibility is driven by profile. If you have multiple record types, then it is also driven by record type. This is excellent because companies tend to have, I may have a new business opportunity versus a renewal opportunity. I may have different type of cases and I can apply different type of prompts to it. So this is an example of how that works. I'm going to go back and pick up this prompt just so that maybe I'll pick a more interesting prompt. So let's go find a good prompt. Let's take a look at this prompt here. So I'm going to go here. When I click on this link there, what you're seeing is what happened under the hood, right? Under the hood, what happened was we sent information to AI. So, this is the prompt that you're looking at, right? Written in plain English. You're just saying, hey, generate an HTML table, do this, do that. There is some optimization, but that's stuff that we have put here, right? And then some data was extracted for it. You can look at all the case information that was pulled from Salesforce and account information and all of that, and that was sent. So in this case, the masking was not configured. Otherwise, it would have identified and picked all the masking information from it. And then what happens is this is the response we got back from AI. So AI returned us a response. There's a lot of information here, and basically it is going to generate an HTML version of it. AI also sends us back a lot of information on the appropriateness of content, so self harm, profanity, violence, a lot of those kind of things, and you can leverage them to filter out things. Do settings in your org if you need to. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff that happens. But that's kind of what has happened under the hood. Let's take a deeper look at the prompt itself. So now you're looking at our idea of the prompt studio, if you will, right? So on the left, what you see is this is the name of the prompt. There's a description, and this is the actual prompt. This is the plain English actual prompt of what we asked it to do. As you can see, it's just literally there's no coding. It's just all written in plain English. We support field embedding, so you can specifically embed fields, and that those values will be replaced when the AI returns us a response. All of that is happening here. On the right, what you see is what we call data context mapping. This determines what information was sent to AI. And these are some of the things that are crucial if you're going to deploy AI, because there may be a lot of concern around the security aspect of it. Your organization may go, wait, what information am I sending? I don't want to send it, or I want it to be masked, right? Things like that. So this is the information that we are sending, right? These are all fields coming from metadata. So you can send information about standard objects, custom object, package object. You use, Zora or Financial Force or whatever you use. You can bring all of that information, send it forward. It's all metadata driven. Now I can actually go and say, well, I don't want to send my account name. So I can go and I can mask it. And I'm going to say, hey, mask this thing and call it company one, right? So now when I run this thing again, if I do, it will actually mask this information and it will identify and go, wait, I don't want to send this company name. So that's a very simple example of that. So you can see here is account and I'm sending some other information around cases, some information around opportunity. I can go and say, well, I actually want to send additional objects, right? So a related object to opportunity. And so I can send whatever information, a child object to opportunity that I want to send. I can send events around this opportunity, leads, whatever orders, opportunity product line items, whatever I want to send, I can send here. It's the same idea. You add an object, then you identify what fields you want to send, and you send those fields out, right? So if I go on my case, you can see there's a whole bunch of fields here that we are sending. Some of them are masked. So the phone numbers are masked, right? Email addresses are masked. If I wanted to mask a long text field with very specific set of information, I can actually do that. I can hit on this entire value and I can mask these out here. The other thing that we support is you can also mask using our security layer. So we support the idea of regular expressions, for example. So if I go here and I do block lists, you can see, sorry, let me go to regular expressions first. So I'm going to go on regular expression. So you can block things that meet this format. If they look like an email address, they look like a tax identification number, SSN number of a specific country, you can apply all of this. And GPTfy would basically look at that in all your unstructured data. So all your long text fields and everything, it will just look at it and take that out. Another area that I have heard a lot about from customers, particularly, is they want support for what is known as a block list. So you want to definitely have this in your requirements. Again, doesn't matter whose product you use, you build your own, buy it from someone. These are some of the considerations that I've heard from customers, and they may be very useful as you think about it. So you can put a block list and you can put whatever names you want in it, and that way you can make sure that if any of that information is going out, the block list looks at them. This may be product codes, this may be name of your customers, products, whatever. You can block them out. So these are just some examples of what you're doing here. So basically, what you want to do is at a prompt level, you want to make sure that you understand and identify what fields you want to send. You want to be very selective and you want to mask them adequately to address them. So that's kind of the high level overview of the prompt catalog that we were talking about. I'm going to take a look at some of the questions. I know there's a lot of comments that have come through. So give me a second here. Okay, someone asked a question on anonymization of data. Abdul, I think I answered it, but if there's more, then definitely let me know. Priya asked, does using hashtag in open text field help the AI? For instance, the description field. So Pri, I think everything helps AI. If the key that I find, the challenge that I think for a lot of organizations is to make sure that they are applying, they have good data, right? Good unstructured data. I think that is the kind of stuff that really helps AI to ensure that it's addressing those kind of, it's pulling the right information. It gets more context. The thing that really helps organizations do this well is when you are looking at email logging, right? So if you use Salesforce, uh, email log to Salesforce using the Salesforce for Outlook, or some version of that from Gmail or Outlook, every email that's going out, if the reps are logging those, if they're making good notes, that's the kind of fuel that really makes it easy for AI to make sense of data. So like if you look at some of these things here, like if there is information in it, that's great. Now, for a lot of organizations, their reps may not be taking these notes. One really fascinating thing, and I think anybody who's in this event here today, I really want you to take this to heart. I think it's a really incredible value that we can all draw out of this conversation here. One thing that a lot of organizations are doing now is they're looking at Zoom or Gong or Microsoft Teams or whatever tool they're using for collaboration, Google Hangout, and all of them now have this AI based ability to take notes for you and summarize them. So a lot of organizations are doing that. They're using the AI in those tools to take notes for them, summarize it, and some of these tools have built integration, or you can build your own and push that information into your Salesforce. So an event happened, you sync that data and the summary of the meeting notes. And then when you run AI now has the context of account or opportunity or whatever in your Salesforce. And it has the context of the conversation that happened, and it's able to put it all together. And that, I think, is a really incredible way to very, very quickly bring value out of a lot of your existing vendors. So if you are, I'm sure you use some virtual meeting tool. So if it offers that capability, you can now immediately bring this inside Salesforce. Then you can apply things like GPTfy and very, very quickly, connect all of this data. Let me take a look at some other questions in this. My God, there's a lot of comments here. Uh, Shiva asked, how does this work with products like live chat, messaging, and telephony? So, Shiva, pretty much the same way. I don't have a demo here today. And some of those areas we are working on. But the idea is that, if you have information in Salesforce, you can apply AI to it through tools like GPTfy and get a summary version, get a next best version. One of the things that we are doing for some customers now is we are connecting it to knowledge base, whether your knowledge is in Salesforce or in any other technology, right? Or we are connecting with like PDFs, a lot of files. So there is this whole architecture evolving, called RAG, retrieval, augmentation, and generation. So we are able to basically, work with RAG models, and we are implementing one in our tool as well, so that you are able to then bring a lot of information, whether it is in Salesforce or in external knowledge sources, and you're able to surface it up for live chat for community users when they are doing opening a case or something in messaging, in telephony. I think one of the challenge there, just in full transparency, that I'm seeing is the idea that as someone is talking to you, you're able to do this live and bring up something. We are not there yet. I don't know how many people are doing that, but I think for rest of it, for in the context of an account, I'm talking to someone at the account, Steel Crafter account that we were on. Well, yeah, sure. Then you can bring some information like that. Somebody asked, Salesforce recommends not sharing user data with LLM. Is the data or feedback shared? If the feedback is not shared, how the model is learning? So, Swapnil, great question. We are not sharing any data outside of what we are sending to LLM from here. We are not sharing any data. So, customers have that choice. If I go back to where we were earlier, right? If I go back here, and if I say, well, this is partial, right? Right? So this information that I just did here is basically saved at this record level. So it is inside Salesforce. It's not going anywhere. Customers have the opportunity to then decide what they want to do with it, and it may not be mapped on my page layout here. Customers have the opportunity to decide what they want to do with all of this data that is here. They can choose to keep it here. They can choose to the use case that I've seen is that you want maybe a flow or something to kick an email, so that the person who built this prompt, they get this response and it goes, hey, there is someone who found this deficiency in this prompt. So internally, people who are building prompt, they can constantly optimize it based on the feedback from users. That's the first thing. Second is, if you want to share that feedback with your AI, what is known as RHLF, I think, uh, right? Human feedback learning type technology type phenomena. Customers can choose to share it with their AI model, kind of fine tune them, with this kind of response. We as a product, GPT-5 doesn't do that. All right, I am looking at Somebody asked, is it possible to add custom prompts? Yes, Meruane. Yes, that's possible. We can definitely add custom prompts. Sorry, I'm just kind of browsing through some of this. I don't think it's showing me. There's 506 comments. So it's not showing me the most recent comments here. So my apologies if I'm missing someone's comment. Please do me a favor. I'm going to read those later on, anyways. But if you need to, definitely send me a message, connect with me, and happy to kind of continue this chat. I'm going to go back a little bit into some other areas that may be of interest. I know we talked briefly about security, um, but that's something that's very important to a lot of customers. So, as I mentioned, we think of security in these sort of three ways. One is bring your own model, which instantly makes that puts you and your organization in the driver's seat. One of the biggest challenges I found with a lot of companies is that, rightfully so, their security is very concerned, and they don't want yet another piece of infrastructure run by some third party contractor. They'd rather have full control on that. And that's why we went the bring your own model version, where we're like, well, we have nothing to do with it. You can pick your model. If you are using OpenAI on Azure, you can have a conversation with Microsoft and lock it down to your heart's content. You can do things like zero retention, where Azure will not retain anything. Like, you send them something, they have it in memory. As long as they're processing, they send it back to you and it'll wipe out. You can do that with most vendors today. So you have all kind of capability to do this. The other reason we went with BYOM is, if you're a large global company, maybe you want to be in this, in this sort of a data residency scenario, where you're like, well, I want to make sure that my information is sent to the appropriate uh, appropriate region, depending on where I'm calling from. Again, we talked about multi-layered masking in terms of applying it on various things. So you can do that. And this is 100% native to Salesforce. So this is kind of how we think about it. Again, as I said earlier, if you decide to build your own, if you decide to buy something, these are some considerations you should definitely think about. We only connect with AI instances you authorize. You want the same thing with any vendor tool. We use Salesforce's recommended best practices. We love the platform. I'm born and raised on Salesforce. I have a deep respect for Salesforce as a company, and how seriously they take trust and security. We leverage the same idea. So we use external credentials or name credentials or HTTPS, and you have 100% control on this. So that's literally all. This is we have a Gmail GPTfy integration, so you can basically what I was showing you earlier. You can do this here, and with a single click, essentially apply this, bring information, your account summarization, whatever you want to do, and we're working on similar thing for Outlook. Some resources for a lot of this conversation that we did today. There is this group, and someone from my team would add the link here. But you definitely want to, join this group. We basically put all of our recordings, a lot of content there. We're, on Enterprise Dreaming on LinkedIn. It's a free group. You can just join. So, if you wanted that customer lifecycle that we were looking at, that PDF, use cases, we have PDFs on use cases for Sales Cloud, for Service Cloud. You can get them from this group, or Financial Services Cloud, if that's your thing. I think Health Cloud also probably. We have a spec matrix. So for security, privacy, ethics, and compliance, this is a topic in itself. If anybody's interested, I'm very happy to talk to them, at a later time. We've spent a lot of time in this space. That's the background we come from: security, privacy. And again, you can find a lot of information on this group. You can also check us out on GPTfy.ai, and you can go here and you can look at a lot of what we do for various clouds, for various industries, our comparison with other AI options, our pricing. Our pricing is like $20 per seat per month. And you can look at our security, privacy. There's a bunch of things here and a lot of resources, some of the guides that we talked about, some of these use cases, some of our demo videos. Pretty much, I think most of the demos that you saw here, a lot of them are here. So join the LinkedIn group, and definitely take a look at it. Between these two, I think you will find a lot of information that is hopefully helpful to your organization as you embark on this mission. Uh, All right, next steps. If you're interested, you can definitely get in touch with us, book a call with us. We can spend 45 minutes, tell you, understand your use cases, give you suggestions on what you can do. If you are interested, we can kind of do a pilot. There's no fees for that. All right, Q&A. Let me go take a look at this. If I can go all the way to the bottom. What size of Salesforce number of users to gain effective ROI? So Nicole asked. Nicole, that's a good question. I don't know if there is a cookie cutter answer to it, to be quite honest. I think it definitely. So let's talk about it in its ROI. So let's talk about the cost and the trade the trade off, right? So the cost portion is there is a licensing cost. Like with GPTfy, I think the minimum is 20K, so you can get 20K per annum. You can just have GPTfy up and running in your org, and it's $20 per user. So for like 100 users or something, I guess. The other part of this is there is a cost of every time you call AI. There is a cost to that, but that's actually very nominal. Uh, I would it's between 1 to 3 cents on every hit, depending on how much data you're sending and other stuff. Um, the ROI part of it, I'll give you two examples of that. One is, like case, right? If you're doing something with case, and actually, I think we have a case study on our website. So if you're doing it for cases for support, right? Here is an example. You can go take a look at it, and this is a very nifty document that just looks at 100 reps at a cost of $30 per hour in some offshore location or something, right? And they make 40 calls a day, and it does the math. And there is like a spreadsheet that you can, I guess, click, get, download it, and just kind of put your own numbers for cost, for pricing, everything. So it's a really good way to get a sense of ROI. The key factors that drive positive ROI with customers that I've seen is one, grunt work. How much wastefulness is happening today that you can eliminate? That is one of the hardest things to look at because we are so attuned of thinking business as usual, right? The fact that AI can do so much more for us is something that we've not really thought about. The fact that I don't have to write every email by hand, but I can start with a draft. That reduces about 60% of the time. I It takes me forever to write an email, but let's say if I was spending 10 minutes in writing an email, now I'm taking churning it around in 4. That's the kind of things that you're looking for, in the cases. If you're support, if you're looking at sales and pipeline, you want to understand from your users, the frontline people, the sales reps, the support reps, the finance folks, whoever is using Salesforce. You want to understand what is consuming their time and then figure out compelling use cases. We'll give some examples of them, but it really depends at the end of the day on people who are doing it. So I would highly encourage you to take a look at this sheet. You can get it from this ROI analysis on our website, and hopefully Vinayak or Rahul or someone please share a link to this. Okay, Fernando asked, have you seen implementation using local LLM instead of OpenAI Anthropic? If so, what platform? So Fernando, I haven't. Um, I haven't seen any implementation with the local LLM or open source, but the truth is, I'm hearing a lot of very, very positive things about Mistral and some of the other things that are coming out. Um, the architecture that we put in place should work fine if you have it hosted on prem or if you have it hosted in one of these cloud vendors. And we're sort of model agnostic. I think the only thing that would make a difference is depending on how they are, how they're accepting prompts, and there are some nuances with prompt and the kind of output you get between cloud on Cloudy by Anthropic on AWS versus OpenAI on Azure versus Vertex on Google. So there's a little bit of tweaking that you have to do to get the response, but I don't see a challenge with running any of this. All right. What else? If this session is recorded, yes, we'll share it, John. What else am I looking at? I'm seeing too many like sort of spammy comments here, I think. All right. Trying to figure out. Sorry, my apologies. I'm trying to just look for other questions here. Um, hmm, all right. Can I pull data from external sources? Yes, great question. So, they asked a question on external data. So yes, Vijay, you can. We can pull data from external sources. We support external objects. So if you use what Salesforce calls a Lightning Connect, which is an OData adapter, you can definitely pull data from any OData source. So Snowflake, SAP, other data warehouses, you have any third-party source that is OData compliant, and Salesforce has done that for a very long time. It's a really cool way to bring data from external systems inside Salesforce. It is federating data, so you're not replicating it. It's not a copy. It's just pulling it in runtime, and Salesforce supports a read write of that. So you can actually create records in that external system through Salesforce, do other things if you wanted to. And for GPTfy, we think of that as yet another object. So basically, we support external objects, is the way to think about it. So if I go back here on this thing and again go to the prompt, so this data context that you're looking at here, this can actually include external objects and the fields from it, and that way you can bring that in. The other thing that we support is we also support API data sources, so you can basically effectively write code for third party data services. A very classic example is data enrichment, right? You have Dun& Bradstreet, Bloomberg, or something. If you're already enriching with that data, great. If you're not, you can actually we can integrate with it. So you can connect this with your Salesforce and the GPTfy. So when GPTfy pulls data, it will also enrich that data with some of this information. So let's say for account, right? Let's say you want to bring financial information for account from Bloomberg or from Kensho. So when you're pulling data on an account, let's say Apple, right? I'm going to pull data on Apple, and then I can first make a call to this Bloomberg or Kensho and get their 10K results or something, their financials, and then I can send that along with what they have bought from us and other things, and then I can get back a response. So that's kind of what I was describing earlier as a white space analysis. So we support the idea of white space analysis that way, right? This thing here, the whole idea of white space analysis is figure out what the customer is planning to do based on 10K, 10Q financial statements. Look at what assets they have, the subscription, the products they've already brought from us, which is information that may be in your Salesforce, and then put all of this together, send it to AI, get back a condensed response, and present it to the rep. So that gives rep a lot of interesting ways to warm the conversation up and kind of make sure that they're targeting the right kind of things. All right, so that's that. Let me see other questions. Do you have example of unstructured data that does not reside in Salesforce, like documentation or something in Confluence or Jira? So Steve asked this question. Steve, I think I do. Actually, I'm not sure. Let me see. It may not be in this environment, but if you want to reach out to me separately, we do that. Happy to show you that. I don't think I have it here. I don't have it here, Steve, but we definitely do that today. Unfortunately, it's not in this one. Tell you what, the next time I do a webinar, I'm going to have a whole section on external data, and we'll include knowledge article and things like that in it. What else? I see that in the demo, sentiment or escalated is new. Okay, I answered that one. Uh, GPTfy is a similar product. Recommends not sharing data. Sorry, bear with me a minute. I'm kind of still looking at this. Considering this is ever evolving space, how is the model updated? Does Salesforce push upgrades or can we upgrade from A? Mitesh asked. So, Mitesh, good question. So, I think there are two components to this. The evolution of model is like in the architecture we are talking in the bring your own model, you, the customer, make that decision. So, I'll give you an example. We connect with OpenAI. And we also connect with OpenAI 4 and like a bunch of other providers. So where it says AI model, you see GPTfy here. This could have been a different AI model. So let me actually go back and show you a little bit of AI models. Right. So it could be any of these AI models or others. And even in that, I can have a connection for OpenAI 4 version, GPT 3.5, GPT 4, 5, whatever comes out, Google Gemini. So the sort of the prerogative to upgrade a AI model is on us, the customer, right? Not on Salesforce, frankly, not even on GPTfy. So you can decide when you want to upgrade that. Outside of that, the upgrade of the app exchange package itself, GPTfy, which is on, that is on us. We typically do quite a few releases. So if you go to app exchange, you can find us there. Right, where is that? Right. So you can basically find us here, and this is the. I think we just released 1.4. Our next version is going to come out in January. So that is on us, and that's just a typical upgrade of any managed package application. Uh, all right. Our prompt templates that yield the formatted result markdown included with the product. Yes, Chris, they are. Sorry, I probably answered that earlier. Uh, if we use Jira through Salesforce, if I'm working a ticket, can this search previous tickets and tell me if this is a known issue? So, Daniel, somewhat. So the question is, can it look at an external ticketing repository like Jira and say, hey, this ticket we've seen this ticket before. So somewhat, I'll probably do a separate webinar where we'll cover some of these, because what we are doing with cases for a customer is that we are doing case, resolution and routing, where as soon as a case is opened, it goes against a knowledge repository and reads through and figures out, oh, there is already a knowledge article that addresses it, and it populates like the link and some information about it on the case, so that the rep can look at it. So this is not very different from the way I'm reading it. So yeah, we can definitely do that, and we can look at that next time. Or if you reach out to me, I'll reach out to you, and maybe we can do a separate session for it. All right. Anything else? Any documentation on Service Cloud use cases? Pragnya asked. Yes, Pragnya, it's right here. If you go here, these are use cases for Service Cloud. And similarly, there's use cases for Sales Cloud. So you can look at case sentiment, root cause analysis, all of that is here. All right. What else? Oh, we are almost at time. How's the performance of this as far as scalability? Is there any concern? Great question. So, from a performance and scale perspective, I have not seen a challenge, predominantly because you're dealing with two systems that are both very optimized for scale. One is, of course, Salesforce, where we are making a call out only, right? And then on the other hand, on the receiving end, you have Azure or Google Cloud or AWS. And a lot of those are very, very robustly managed infrastructure as a service. And you, anyways, have the ability to tweak them and work with those vendors. The other performance and scale consideration is how much data can you send to these things. So the term for it is context size. Context size is the information that we send to AI and what it returns to us. And that context size has been steadily increasing. The demos that we are looking at, I think they use 16K of context size. But now there are models on AWS. You can use Cloud from Anthropic, which is a 200K context size. That's like 500 pages of data that you can send. That's a lot of information. So the beauty of this whole space is that it's going to continually evolve. All the scale performance type things are, I think, mostly eliminated, and they will continue to add so much more firepower there. Um, mm, Anything else here? All right, I'm not seeing other use cases. I think or questions here. I think we are almost at time, anyways. So I appreciate everyone joining. If you have more questions, please do put it here, and we'd be happy to answer them. I hope this was useful for you. You can reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn. My name is Saurabh Gupta. Let me see if I can pull my LinkedIn here. So this is my LinkedIn profile. You can definitely reach out to me, and happy to be connected with you. Hope this was useful. If you have any questions, please do leave us in comments. Thank you so much for your time today. Take care.